Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton will talk about city issues, including the recent bus strike. And we'll get our weekly legislative update with the Arizona Capitol Times. That's next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona State Land Trust will pay a record $105 million to Arizona schools in the next fiscal year. That's a 12% jump over the previous year. The money comes from earnings on investments made from state land sales. And venture capital deals in the U.S. increased last year, but not in Arizona. Nationally, venture capital investments hit close to $60 billion, but Arizona's share was just 0.2% of that total, with 28 transactions resulting in $114 million. Both numbers a drop from the previous year. California led all states in venture capital deals. And the Arizona Court of Appeals has ruled that giving police permission for unconditional searches of vehicles includes allowing the use of drug-sniffing dogs. The court upheld a woman's convictions for drug possession and other charges. The woman argued that she did not consent to the search by a drug-sniffing dog, but the court ruled that it's common knowledge that police use dogs in searches. Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton joins us each month to discuss a variety of city issues, including this time the recent city bus strike. Here now, joining us is Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. The highlight of my month, every month, right here.
I'm sorry to hear that. We'll get to the strike in a second here, but I want to get it. We talk a lot on politics and public policy here. The governor's State of the State address took a pretty sharp shot at cities and municipalities, suggesting that shared revenue could be, he basically threatened cities with not getting shared revenue or changing that formula some way, shape, or form. How do you respond to that?
Well, first off, I like Governor Doug Ducey. He and I are friends. We just taped a PSA together supporting Big Brothers Big Sisters, so we work together as often as we can. But when we disagree, we really disagree. And on this one, I have a significant disagreement with the governor. It is inappropriate to use the threat of taking away shared revenues, which is city money, away from the cities because you happen to disagree with one public policy we adopt or another. Phoenix is proud that we have taken a leadership role in passing progressive, smart public policies that not all the other cities have passed. Let me give you an example. We passed comprehensive protections for our LGBT community in employment. So when the governor threatens to take away our state share revenue by the creation of what he called a patchwork of employment laws, we've already done it by protecting our lesbian, gay community from employment discrimination. We've already crossed that threshold, if you will. It's completely inappropriate just because you happen to dislike one public policy or another to threaten state share revenue. That's not the state's money. That's city's money that we've agreed to allow them to distribute for efficiency purposes so it's easier on taxpayers. But if they're going to threaten to take away state share revenue, we're going to have a pretty good Donnybrook on our hands.
He suggests, though, that if all the cities, if you got a great idea, Tucson's got a different idea, Flagstaff, Eloy, Yuma, everyone's running around with this patchwork of ideas, patchwork of laws, that it's inconsistent as far as the state is concerned, inconsistent as far as attracting and retaining business is concerned.
And I would politely disagree with the governor on this issue, politely yet strongly disagree. Look, the city of Phoenix has taken a leadership role on human rights. We've taken a leadership role on sustainability, where we've passed laws that reflect the values of the community that I am blessed to lead. Phoenix was the first city, one of the first cities in the country to pass a paid Martin Luther King holiday well before the state of Arizona passed it and then took it away. I mean, there's a great tradition of leadership among the cities, and often where cities lead, other cities follow, and then eventually the state of Arizona follows as well. We ought to be supporting local control. That's what we're trying to stand for, is that the values that people who live in Phoenix hold, and Tempe, and Tucson, and Flagstaff may be different than other cities, and our ordinances ought to reflect that. And we should not make public policy that reflect the values of our community under threat of having our own money being taken away. That's beyond the pale. That's not the way public policy should be done. And if the governor or anybody else wants to get in a battle of ideas and disagreement, we can have a great debate. We ought to have it right here on this television show. But using state share revenue as a threat is simply unacceptable. And City of Phoenix and cities across the state will have to stand up and fight and say, that's simply wrong.
And when you say Donnybrook, what are you saying?
Well, we'll have to fight it on all fronts. We'll have to fight it on the legal side of it, because legally you can't take away state share revenue from the cities. It is our money. So the threat is both legally wrong, but I think is actually morally wrong. You cannot, we're a separate level of government, and we have the right to pass ordinances and laws that reflect our values communities. If the legislature or anyone else at the state believe that the city ought to be run a certain way, I got an idea. Run for mayor. It's a great job. Come on and pass ordinances that you believe are in the best interest of this community. But in the meantime, as long as I'm mayor, I'm going to lead the city in the direction that I believe the voters have expected me to do, and that shouldn't be done under a threat of loss of state share revenue.
Since we're speaking about the governor, he never fails to mention Uber as a great success as far as his term is concerned. And the idea of using Uber at the airport is just a wonderful thing. Agree?
Well, I actually admire the governor for being a supporter of the sharing economy, including ride-sharing companies like Uber. In fact, before he was governor, Uber came to me and asked that we no longer work with the Department of Weights and Measures under Governor Brewer's administration to kind of engage in law enforcement against those drivers while they were working out the issues of the legislature. I'm a supporter of the sharing economy as well, but here's what I stand for. At the airport, if you're going to provide transportation services, you have to provide them to people with disabilities. And the whole concept of Uber is that whichever driver happens to be in the neighborhood picks up that person. If that person happens to be in a wheelchair, we don't leave that person out in the cold. That's not our values as a city. I don't think it's the state of Arizona values either. So what I have required is that any of the ride-sharing companies that want to operate at the airport make sure they have a system in place that all people can be serviced, including and especially people with disabilities who may happen to be in wheelchairs. That's the requirement we have for other transportation companies at the airport. That's what I believe, and that's what we're working on. I think we're going to announce a very exciting announcement in the very near future where the ride-sharing companies are going to agree that if you do business at the airport, they're going to provide that very important service, but do so in a way in which we don't leave people with disabilities behind. Those are not Phoenix values, and I won't allow that at my airport.
Do you anticipate a fight on that? And the companies may be sounding good now, but I mean, are you anticipating agreement here? Well,
when you say agreement, I don't think the companies are excited about being required to provide services to all people, but I believe the American Disabilities Act, which is one of the great laws in American history, where people, construction companies and others complained about it, saying how unfair it was, where you have to make buildings accessible when only a small percentage of the people happen to have disabilities. We've gotten over that. I think in history will show that the American Disabilities Act is one of the great laws that was signed by President Bush. Same thing now. Now is my time in leadership, and if I'm going to allow transportation companies at the airport, they have to provide services to everyone. I believe in that. That's something I'm passionate about, and one thing I'm going to stand for as mayor of the city.
If that means everyone gets less service, if there are fewer Uber drivers out there, if a lot of folks say, I just can't do this, I'm not going to go along with it, and the entire enterprise suffers, you say?
Well, actually, we're smarter than that. Uber drivers won't suffer in any regard. What would be the requirement is that the rideshare companies pay into a van service so that if the driver who shows up can't take the person who's there because they happen to have a disability, there's a backup vehicle that will be there that is wheelchair accessible within a very short period of time. It's a very reasonable solution. So the person who may be living in a wheelchair may not get that first car that comes, but they'll get a car shortly thereafter. Actually, Uber is working very closely with myself and the city of Phoenix to move forward with this public policy. I do believe that the other ride-sharing companies will follow. So when we make that great announcement that Uber services will be available at the airport, they won't be available for some. That service will be available for all. And that's the value that I want to stand for as mayor.
We're talking transportation here. Let's get to the bus strike. I mean, it sounds as though the issues, better bathrooms, a better method of payment, email rules, discipline. Goodness gracious, why weren't these things worked out before the NCAA title game and all that hoo-ha?
Well, first, let me address that last issue. I know there was a lot of discussion about whether or not the bus strike would affect the college football championship or not. I got to be honest with you, that was the least of my concerns. My concern was how would it affect somebody that needs to take the bus to get to their job, or that student that needs to take the bus to get to their high school classroom or college classroom. Let's be honest, that has a much bigger impact on their lives and the future of our city than a college football game. We got to get our priorities straight. That being said, the bus strike is devastating to people that utilize that service to get to education and jobs. Look, my role as mayor, since we don't run the bus system, we have a company that runs that bus system. My role is to use the bully pulpit of my office to serve in kind of a mediator role. So it's hard for me to pass judgment. My job is to bang heads on both sides and say, get to compromise, get to yes, so that we can provide this service. Thankfully, in all my years as mayor, I've had a few of these. This isn't my first rodeo with the bus strike. We've been able to resolve them within a reasonable period of time so that we don't have a month-longer period strike like other communities have had. We've kept our strike, our work stoppages at a very small amount of time, and we've gotten back to providing that important service.
If the best you can do is bang heads, and again, this is a private business here running it for the city, should the city just not get back into the business of running the buses?
Well, you raise an interesting question, and that's a fair debate and discussion we should have. But I think at the end of the day, we've actually never directly run the bus system here in the city of Phoenix. It's always been a service that we have worked with companies to provide. I think the important thing is that we pick the right companies, and we make sure that we have a contract level that will allow those companies to pay good wages and benefits to those employees. And the reason why we do that is we want talented people to become bus drivers so that people can have the safest ride possible. And so I think as long as the city of Phoenix works with the right companies and allows them to pay good wages and provide good benefits to those drivers, I think the system will work. There's going to be work stoppages in the future. I hope this is my last work stoppage because all the contracts extend beyond my time as mayor. I'm proud of the work that we've done. I've always had an attitude of, I'm going to not avoid these things. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and get actively involved. And I think my involvement has made a positive difference to shorten these work stoppages. And I hope that's a tradition that continues in the city of Phoenix.
I can't let you go without talking about a recent story regarding security detail, full records of your security detail. They're not there. They haven't been there for a while. And people want to know why. Why aren't those full security detail records available?
Now this question I get asked all the time, and I am 100% consistent with my answer. The people who work on the security detail covering the mayor, just like the security detail covering the attorney general or county attorney or the governor, they work for law enforcement. They actually don't work for me. That decision is solely made by the Phoenix Police Department, and I respect that department is doing what they believe is in the best interest of safety, not only my and my family's safety, but community safety as well. On a personal level, I don't particularly care. If somebody wants to track where I'm going, they'll realize what a ridiculous 16 to 18 hour schedule I have every day at public events, but I love it because I'm mayor. So I personally don't have I don't believe one way or another that the record should or should not be kept, but I do, just like I don't tell the police department how many officers they should send out to investigate a crime, I don't tell them how to do their business in terms of the job of the security detail for the mayor. That would be crossing a line that I shouldn't cross.
Do you think it's a good idea, though, that the city stopped maintaining logs for this activity?
Well, I know if the police chief, and I'm sure you have him on occasion, were to explain why, I think he'd say that the reason they did that was for ultimately a security-related purpose. And that certainly they know where they're taking me from meeting to meeting or community event to community event. Whether they should keep the logs or not, I really believe is a public safety question. It should be left to public safety professionals. As an elected official, I don't care one way or another, and I've told the police chief, if you change your mind and believe that it's okay to keep the records, you're not going to get a complaint from me.
But you understand people are concerned that maybe non-official trips are being included here. That's the concern, that it's not transparent.
Well, I think the reality is that if the members of the security detail were sitting here, or more importantly, our police chief were sitting here, they would tell you that their job is to provide security for me and my family all the time, which means that yes, do I take my children to school and I do homework in the car while I'm taking them to school with my son and daughter? Yes, I do. Do I take them occasionally to doctor's appointments? Yes, I do, because that's what we do as parents throughout the day. Again, my own personal opinion is if the police believe that they can keep those security logs without creating a security issue, they should. But ultimately, it is a Phoenix Police Department function. Mm-hmm. They are not my employees. They are employees of Chief Yonner and the police department, and I defer to their excellent judgment when it comes to safety issues.
I lied. One more point here.
Why not?
Scott Smith is the Valley Metro interim leader. What are your thoughts there? Is he qualified? I mean, he's a former mayor of Mesa. You're a mayor of Phoenix. That's all fine and dandy. Running Valley Metro is a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
Well, Mayor Smith and I are personal friends. I like him. We worked together for many, many years. He's only going to be there for a very short period of time. The Valley Metro Board is going to immediately go into a search for a permanent CEO. I do believe that the permanent CEO of Valley Metro Rail should be someone with significant experience running government operations and in experience in the field of transportation. Here's why. City of Phoenix just passed Proposition 104. The vast, vast majority of the resources that are going to be running through that organization come from the taxpayers of the City of Phoenix. And I am passionate that we get our light rail advancements going as quickly as possible. And having someone with the experience, number one, project management, to see that it gets done on time, on budget, and that we get the appropriate resources for Washington is a skill set that I'll be looking for. So I look forward to working with Mayor Smith during the short period of time that he's there, but more importantly, that we get the right CEO there for the permanent position. What happened there is simply unacceptable.
Well, and I was going to ask about that. Has any action been taken place? I mean, is Valley Metro looking at changing oversight regulations, auditing, something to make sure that the next person who takes that job doesn't apparently, allegedly abuse spending privileges and benefits?
The answer is yes, and of course they have to. Look, the reality is that we as a community have learned a lot about the amount of oversight necessary. You need to hire good, honest, ethical people that don't engage in inappropriate behavior, potentially fraudulent behavior. As there's 2 audits going on right now, so we're going to get a lot of information about the level of it. But the reality is this. You could be a humble leader. You could be just as effective without going to Ruth Chris Steakhouse or whatever fancy restaurant you're going to on a regular basis. You don't need that to be an effective leader running an organization like Valley Metro. You have to be active in the community. You got to be out there in the community, but you can also do so in a much more humble way and be much more effective. And that leadership style has to be a characteristic of the next permanent CEO of Valley Metro.
Got to stop you there. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Always my highlight. Every month. I love coming on.
Again, I'm sorry to hear that.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
The push to reverse scheduled cuts to career and technical education programs is gaining momentum among state legislators. It's a push that could put lawmakers at odds with the governor. For more on that and other legislative happenings, we welcome Luigi Del Puerto of the Arizona Capital Times. It's our weekly legislative update. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I got to tell you, the career and technical education, these joint technical education districts, this JTEDs and CTEs, my goodness, this has become issue 1 at the Capitol, hasn't it?
It has become a pretty big issue, and that's because this program is getting cut by more than 40% of its budget. And that cut would begin in July this year if this slashing of their budget is not reversed early. And the JTEDs, they're saying, look, you got to decide by February. Don't wait too long, because we have to know whether we're going to have this program, as strong as it has been going forward.
Give us a definition of CTEs and JTEDs.
So JTEDs are joint technological education districts, and these are these districts train students into a career path that once they get out of high school, they can then immediately work for a company. For example, nursing assistants or training as a repairman, for example. Those are the kinds of training that they get when you enroll in a JTED. Now, there are two kinds of JTEDs. There's a centralized campus where you go to that campus and get all your trainings there. And there are also districts that offer the program within their own campuses.
And is there overlap there? Because I know Senate President Andy Biggs thinks that there is overlap.
There are some lawmakers that think that the JTED program has expanded into areas that shouldn't be doing. For example, they're saying that some JTEDs offer law enforcement training. Well, after getting that training, you will not be certified to work for a police station, for example. And those things are, I'm presuming, being worked out. But what's happening is that Don Shooter, the appropriations chairman, big JTED supporter, there's a JTED program, Yuma, that just started, I think, last year or 2 years ago. But he has a proposal to repeal the cut that was made to JTEDs, and it's co-signed by 71 legislators. I mean, you can't be more resounding than that. And I think what's happened is that the governor's proposal, which is a kind of a grant program over 3 years at $10 million a year, it's increasingly becoming more and more isolated. However, the governor has indicated he is open to suggestions. I mean, I spoke with his spokesperson yesterday, and he said, let's talk about this. Let's discuss this one.
This hue and cry against the $30 million cuts, I mean, lawmakers did this last session, did they not?
Yes, they did. And part of the discussion, if you will, is how exactly did it happen? There wasn't a whole lot of discussion when they made the JTED cuts. And I think it really surprised several lawmakers. I mean, we've gotten, at the moment that this proposal was made last year, we've gotten so many calls, and when it was passed, lawmakers said, whoa, boy, did just that happen? And it did.
Okay, we're going to talk much more about this tomorrow. I think Carolyn Warner is going to join us. She's with a group that's looking to block the cuts, and it sounds like it's veto-proof there at the legislature, so something's got to give. Real quickly, though, another excitable issue down there is ballot harvesting, ballot collecting, this kind of an idea. It seems like it's a solution in search of a problem, yet we continue to hear about efforts to keep other people from collecting the ballots of another person and taking them in. What's going on now?
Right. So a couple of years ago, there was an omnibus election bill that the Republican-controlled legislature passed, and one of those provisions is ballot harvesting. Specifically, it would prohibit people from picking up ballots and then delivering them to polling places, for example, or the county elections departments. There was a huge outcry. It was part of this big bill that had so many provisions that people were just upset over. And so the Republican legislature reversed that bill and did it the next year. However, we sort of knew that certain parts of it are going to be revived, and this is what we're seeing right now. On Monday, the House Elections Committee passed this bill. And by the way, Ted, there was never any discussion as to whether this legislation would go forward or not.
What's going on with that, then? We're hearing that the Senate is allowing for public discussion and debate and all that. The House is not allowing for...
No, they actually had a 2-hour committee hearing on Monday, and there were lots of speakers, many of them affiliated with the Republican Party, that have anecdotal stories, if you will, nothing really beyond hearsay, saying this is fraudulent or this is ripe for fraud, something could happen, people could abuse this. But like I said, there was never any concrete evidence presented in that committee, or to be honest with you, not even the county elections departments have offered or have any kind of evidence that this fraud does exist or is ongoing.
So no one sees a problem as yet with people returning other folks' ballots to elections offices, and yet this could wind up being a Class 6 felony?
Yes, that's right. And in fact, the teachers, for example, are very concerned with this legislation because, as you know, during bonds and overrides, teachers do go from door to door and they do try and collect these ballots. The thinking behind is it's a low turnout election and they need as much help as they can. And so that's one of the things they do. They go around and collect these ballots. And the possibility, therefore, is that a teacher could be charged with a felony.
Well, maybe they can carve out an exemption for teachers. I know caregivers and postal carriers and family members, that seems like those folks will be exempt, correct?
Those folks will be exempt. So a caregiver, a family member, obviously the postal workers, they're the one picking up the ballots all the time. They will be exempted, but nobody else.
All right, so lots of stuff going on down there. The mood's still relatively positive. Everyone's still kumbaya-ing among the governor and the Republican majority.
It seems like it. Now the governor especially has indicated that, yeah, the JTIDs are likely going to get, you know, their money back. I think that's we'll probably see a session that is of the same nature, if you will, as last year.
All right, good to see you, Luigi. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thursday on Arizona Horizon is a settlement in the works between APS and the solar industry, and we'll hear from a solar representative on that. We'll also learn more about those funding cuts aimed at career and technical education programs. It's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.